Well, I'm on the farm today. Today is July the 9th, and it's kind of getting a little late in the evening. Hopefully there'll be enough daylight to for the videos. It's raining and misting. It's been doing this all day. We've got a little bit of a breeze over here, and we're going to do a hay update for July. We had our family reunion on July the 3rd, and we had family in here on the 3rd, and then subsequent days around it for the whole 4th of July weekend, if you will. And what a great time we had. We finished our first cutting hay. We did final prep for the reunion, and the reunion went off without a hitch. Everybody had a great time, and it's taken me a few days to kind of recover from cutting hay, going to the Red Power Roundup, taking care of the reunion, and but we're ready to get going again. The rain we had and are having has just kind of made the rocks wet. The creek is really low. I mean, this is August, dry, hot August weather low for this creek. But hopefully we'll get some rain here this coming week. I think they're calling for thunderstorms, and sometimes that'll drop a fair amount of rain. But today it's just been kind of a soaking on and off rain, so we need it. In my last video, John Deere to the rescue, I had mowed this field and we baled it, and actually it produced a pretty good little hay crop, not to have had any fertilizer. So because we didn't fertilize, our yields were down a half to 2/3, and we kind of expected that. And to kind of compensate for that a little bit, we really mashed the pedal on what I've called over the years gleaner hay. And that's where we dive into the corner of these fields. And in this particular west field over here, this transition right here, it's much steeper than it looks. I used to cut that when I had my sickle mower. That was the main tool, and sometimes my Heston mower conditioner, but I don't care to get on that going around the side of it with a bigger tractor. But nonetheless, we cut that for some gleaner hay, and I'll show you a few other places. So typically, when we talk about gleaner hay, this west field right here, it's kind of a triangular shape, and kind of comes to a point down in there. And usually what I do is I just turn right in here, and I make a turn, and it's not that it's hard to cut and bale hay over in that corner, but it's just real tedious getting turned around, and a lot of times when we're up here cutting hay and baling hay, time is a premium, and we can really be in a race to get the stuff on the wagon before the dew comes, or worse, rain. But we cut this for gleaner hay this year, and all of our gleaner hay we cut with a sickle mower, my Model 32 sickle mower, which I'll show you here in just a little bit. One thing we're getting ready to do is spray these fields for broadleaf weeds, and just try to get them cleaned up. We're not going to go for like a second cutting and a third cutting. Since we're not fertilizing after our first cut, we're just going to let this lay, and hopefully around September and Labor Day weekend, along around that time frame, we'll be able to take some second cut. And again, what we'll do is we'll take our horse quality hay, and then we'll go after second cut on the gleaner hay, and try to get as much revenue, volume as we can on unfertilized fields, and revenue to go with it. Over here, kind of parked neatly in line and out of the way for the reunion, we've got the mighty Massey Ferguson 1105. Haying this year was not without its difficulties, and I mentioned we blew a hydraulic line on that tractor off the rear 3-point hitch, and it's fixed. And then we had trouble with my Massey 32 sickle mower. I'll have a video, certainly on the several videos on the sickle mower, and I may do a video on the repair on this Massey 1105, who's one of the easier repairs on this farm. And we actually used this Model 50 with the loader quite a bit, and it may or may not be in some of the videos, but I used it. It's running. I kind of got to jury rig it to make it start, but it's on my round 2 list to work on this this winter. But it's really hard to beat these Massey Fergusons on these small mountain farms in Virginia. This is kind of a big tractor for a farm like ours, but like I've said and like you've seen, when we go over the hill with kicker wagons and our Krone mower conditioner, we need the horsepower and the weight. And in many ways, these tractors are cheap horsepower, but they're a great tractor. By the way, we cut all this right in here, and we baled it up for gleaner hay as well. I could run the bush hog on it, or I could just cut it and make a few square bales off of it. And I chose to make some squares, so we'll realize a little bit of revenue from that. So this old garden spot right in here, we cut that for gleaner hay too, and used my Model 32 sickle mower on it. And like I said, our haying wasn't without some difficulties this year. The Massey 1105, and then this sickle mower, we had some issues with that. I'll have a video on that. I've got several videos on mowing with this thing that I'll be pushing out. I just got a lot of video of first cutting and baling and that kind of thing, but I thought I'd interrupt the flow of everything with a hay update, and but we'll get back to kind of documenting what we did here on first cut. So down here in our east field, it may not look like it on the camera, but the field's growing back nicely. And if I hadn't mentioned it before, we need to hit this field with some herbicide to take care of some broadleaf weeds, and it should clean up nicely, and maybe we'll have a decent second cutting of hay. One of the things I've been working on is cleaning up around this barn. This thing needs to be presentable when hay customers come, and it had just pretty much turned into a jungle. And so I hadn't run a push mower or riding mower on it, but I did trim it with a weed eater, and then ran my bush hog. Over there where that patch of grass is, there's some scrap metal in there, and I got to get all that. I need to get all that stuff out. I did pull my sprayer, New Holland 56 rake, my Heston, and a wagon gear out from around the side of this barn. I did not move my New Holland 68, but we trimmed around it pretty good. And but our first cutting is done. You know, it was done before we embarked on the final push for the reunion. So we got some kicker wagons in here with hay on it, ready to be stacked. And I've got my John Deere 348 baler in here, and pulled right out of the field with it in here. And I'll have a video on what that was all about. Here's the Farmall 350, and now that things have slowed down on the hay in front, we're going to try to address that tire, and I need to either put a tube in it or patch the one I got. I cannot bring myself to slime that tire. We're going to fix it. We're going to try to fix it right. Not really ready to spend money on new rubber on this tractor. It's a working tractor, and I'm inclined to run what I got on it until someone told me, until a tire just bursts. But fine machine, Farmall 350, 1958. So you can see where I trimmed down through there, and then over in here, there's just scrap metal and some things like that have been laid out here. They were in another location, and I laid them over in here, and I shouldn't have done it. But ultimately, what I want out of this barnyard is I want it to be mowed like a lawn's. I want all that scaffolding out of here, the gravel pile gone. You have to realize that horse customers, they place a lot of emphasis on the visual, how things look. Is the hay green? You know, does it smell good? Does your barn look like, you know, it's well maintained, or is it just all trashed up and reflective of what your hay really is? So we actually had a pretty good first cutting. Everything went pretty good, even with the difficulties we had. We were able to overcome those, and definitely lower yield. We did not use the 335. I don't feel it's quite ready for prime time. This will be a winter project, but it'll definitely get used next year. So out here in this field, this grass kind of looked like this stuff right in here. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to cut it, and I'll just cut it for, you know, cow and goat hay. But pretty sure what I got here is volunteer teff grass or teef grass, and it just came on, and it was real thick. And so we're going to spray this with 2,4-D and just make it clean. I think I can get some really high dollar second cutting out of this. It just looks really, really good. And even that part on the other side of that brush pile, we'll be able to cut that for hay as well. And so I'm just pleasantly surprised with how this has turned out. It's going to make not a lot of square bales of hay, but it's going to definitely going to yield some revenue. So I've been sitting on my hay. I'm not really selling hay. I had a customer come, as you saw in one of my videos, and take some hay out of the wagons as we baled. And got another customer that's coming, I think sometime tomorrow. He was going to come today, but he got rained out. We kind of agreed that this was not a good day to haul hay on a truck with no cover. And so I got to move some stuff out of the way here so they can get in. And this guy's my #1 customer, and so he gets really the first pick of the hay I got, and then I'll start letting hay go out to some other customers. I'm convinced that we're going to have a hay shortage, and you know, nobody's fertilizing, and yields are down, prices are up, even my prices are up. And so I'm trying to be real judicious with metering out my hay, because I'm not interested in gouging. But on the other hand, if the price of square bales moves north in November, my prices are going to follow that too. And it only makes sense because you know, diesel and fertilizer, spare parts, everything you need to farm with is just really, you know, they talk about 8.5% inflation. And a lot of things we touch, whether it's on the farm or at the home, a lot of prices have doubled, and fertilizer sometimes tripled, and herbicides, if you can get the ones you want, and it's just, everything's just really, really expensive. So we have to pass that on to the customer. Whatever we make this year will pay for our inputs next year. I did have one customer that was interested in some hay, and he took some hay to give it a try, and he decided it was too stemmy for his older horses, which I understand. Older horses, you know, their teeth, and they're not really well equipped when they're like 30 years old, you know, to munch on a stemmy first cut hay. But you know, I was prepared to sell him some hay. He decided he'd try to find hay somewhere else. He probably will, but if he's gonna, he needs to be buying it now, I think. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna go up on the hill here, and I'm gonna show you some areas that we cut for hay. So right in here is a little spot I used to cut for hay all the time, and we even cut it with the Big Massey and the Crone, but it's a little small for that machine to get into, and I say it's a little small to get into. It's just, you have to understand, it's just very time consuming to work some of these small spots, and so we've kind of neglected it. But this year we cut it for gleaner hay, and I think if I spray it for broadleaf weeds, it's going to clean up nicely for some, actually some decent second cut. I cut all this with my sickle mower. I think I cut it with my sickle mower. I don't even remember from one day to the next. I might have cut it with the Crone. I think I did cut it with the Crone, and then I came back around the edges with the sickle mower. I did that fair amount up here. I'd mow with the Crone, and then I'd come back with the sickle mower and kind of pick up the edges. And down there, we mowed that out. Typically, that's just a place we drive on, and you can see the deer use it, if you can see them, to travel from place to place. But anyway, that's going to clean up nicely for some second cut. We'll get just a few bales down there, but again, something's better than nothing. We'll move on up on top. So this will be kind of the last stop. This is a high field, and I mowed it, and I think I got some video on this. Like I say, I've got a lot of first cutting video I still need to push out, and I'll be doing that. You know, a lot of these YouTubers, even the big, probably especially some of the big channels, you know, it might be the 4th of July and they're pumping out a video from March the 4th or something like that. And so I'll do the best I can, and it takes time to edit these videos. But we cut this for first cutting hay, and it yielded. It was low like everything else, but nonetheless, we actually got some horse quality hay off this field, and again, we'll spray it, and it'll clean up nicely, and hopefully we'll have some decent second cutting. There'll be a lot of ground that we would have for what I call gleaner hay, but for second cutting, it's going to be horse quality hay. You can see with the rain, the clouds are starting to move in, and the fog on the mountain, and so even though it's July 9th, it almost feels like fall. I can already feel the daylight getting shorter in the morning and evenings, and so anyway, that's kind of where we'll leave the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Kind of a hay update for July. We're kind of in our slow season right now. We'll be doing some work on equipment. I still got some hay to stack, and we'll begin selling some hay, and looking forward to a second cutting. Hopefully the weather will be favorable. Labor Day weekend, like I mentioned, we got a spray. We will not fertilize for second cutting this year. And so that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you later.